Let's talk about the OnePlus Nord 5, and let's do it in one take. These one-take video immediately... we won't cut that. Let's leave it in. Leave it in, Niall. Yeah, these one-take tech review videos seem to be cropping up gently here and there. Tom, the tech chap, has done it very recently, and a few others have as well. And I just thought, let's do it. Let's go for it. And to be honest, it's something I do every week on my second channel, the Tech Diary. If you haven't checked that out yet, we'll put a link to the Tech Diary in the description down below. But on this channel, generally speaking, it's edited and, you know, all the waffle is cut out. Not today. Although I will try not to waffle, I promise. I want to talk about the Nord, immediately got that wrong, the OnePlus Nord 5, which is a mid-range smartphone. It replaces or it supersedes, is that the right phrase? The Nord OnePlus, brilliant, the OnePlus Nord 4 from last year, which I really liked this phone for reasons that I'll explain in a second. But this is a mid-range phone, and it's such a saturated market. This isn't OnePlus's fault, it's not Oppo's fault, it's not any of the brand's fault that get involved in this kind of mid-range part of the market. It's just clearly they all want to get involved. They all want to have their say and release these kind of phones. And the great thing is, if you are looking at that kind of price point, that kind of 500 to let's say 700-ish mid-range smartphone price, my word, do you have some choice. And I do think the OnePlus Nord 5 should be on your list. Let's just get straight into it. Let's forget any more preamble. I don't have the pricing at the moment. This was the same thing with the Nord 4 last year. The reason for that is because we get seeded these review units, and quite often we get them before the pricing has been confirmed. I've sent an email to my contact and I'm waiting to hear back. So what I'll do at the end of this video, if I remember, is check for the pricing. But if we bear in mind that the Nord 4, it was either £429 in the UK for the 256 gig model or £529 for the 512 gig model. So very much mid-range, like I say, and we can probably expect similar pricing for this. The first thing to say, brilliant, I've just stopped. That's the other thing, I'm so used to having edits. Niall would have got rid of that bit. He didn't, so let's continue. If you like this style, by the way, guys, get involved in the comments and tell me. If you don't like it, you'll tell me, I know. The Nord 4, look at it. It's this all metal design, very premium looking and feeling, and that's what I really liked about it. They've actually done away with that metal, is it a unibody, whatever it was, they've done away with that. Now I've got some notes in front of me which I do need to refer to, obviously bearing in mind that this is one take and all the rest of it. They are using, what are they using? Gorilla Glass 7i is the glass they're using. Okay, I haven't put down the material that they're using on this phone, but it's different to this. They feel like very different phones. That said, weirdly, the Nord 5 feels a bit more modern, I think. This was a great little experiment, I think, in terms of going for this all-metal thing. But the Nord 5 appears to have returned to more traditional but modern, if that makes sense, smartphone design. It just looks like the sort of phone that you would buy in 2025 in a very good way, insofar as it looks far more expensive than it's going to be. I love it. I think it's such a nice phone. This is the blue version. There are different colors. There's phantom gray, there's marble sands. I think this is called dry ice, this one. It feels incredibly solid. I think it looks great. The display, I mean, thankfully I don't have to spend too much time on this because look at it, it's lovely. What more can I say about smartphone displays? Nothing, although if it's an iPhone, that's different. I mean, maybe that will change in September when we get the iPhone 17 range. Perhaps we will finally get the specs that we're used to on Android phones on the regular iPhone 17. But until then, we don't have that with the iPhone 17. We have 60 Hz displays, whereas on this is a 120 Hz variable refresh rate. It's got 1800 nits of peak brightness, and that is less on paper than the Nord 4, which had 2150 nits of peak brightness. Can you tell the difference? No, not at all, really. In bright sunlight, they're both incredibly legible. That's fantastic. 1.5K resolution, 450 ppi. It's got ultra-fast 3000 touch sampling rate, which I don't know how you test that, but trust me, it feels very quick to use. Looks-wise, I think this is a very attractive phone. Let me know what you think in the comments. Performance, my favourite. No, I'm joking. It's not my favourite part of phone reviews. I find it incredibly boring, actually. And the reason I find it incredibly boring is because, and it's a good thing, this is a good reason, is because it's very hard to buy. I don't think you can buy a particularly slow smartphone these days. And particularly if you're looking at that mid-range market, if you're looking at the kind of £500, $500-ish, and maybe a little bit above, you're not going to get a smartphone where you kind of set it all up and then start scrolling and thinking, "Ooh, this is sluggish. Why is it slowing down?" You know, you'll fire up your favourite games as well, and they'll probably run absolutely fine without any issues with the frame rates and stuff. We've reached an era, a bit like the displays on Android phones, where the performance is just fantastic. This has the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. This one had the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3. There will be differences. There will be obviously upgrades in terms of, you know, CPU and GPU performance. But for the people who buy this, and I would count myself in this crowd, by the way, this isn't a derogatory thing at all. It doesn't matter. It's going to be really quick. It's going to be fantastic in that respect. It has up to 12 gigabytes of RAM. That is the maximum you can have. You could have 16 gig, I believe, on the Nord 4, so less for some reason. But does that matter? Not really. It's still very fast memory. It's LPDDR5X, which is great. I don't do gaming performance. I don't do benchmarks, if you're new to this channel, by the way, so I can't comment on that stuff. But it's got a massive vapor cooling chamber as well. So again, if you do push it with games or whatever else it is that people do with smartphones, I don't know what it is, but if you really push your smartphone, this appears to be set up quite nicely for it. Let's talk about the battery. That's the next thing. And now I do have a little, very, very quick, I promise, story about this. This phone is currently on 71% battery remaining. Now it is, what is it? It's 10:14 in the morning, and yesterday I charged this. So it's Thursday today. Yesterday, Wednesday, I charged this overnight, took it off the charger at about 6 a.m. yesterday morning. It's not been near a charger since. It's not been turned off. Admittedly, I've not been using it as my main phone. It does have a SIM card in here though. And I was shooting, I'll come on to why, but I was shooting with it all day yesterday. 4K video, and it's got, like I say, what was it, 71% remaining. That's insane. That is such good battery life. If you're wondering, the specs, it's the same as the Nord 4. It's got a 5,200 milliamp hour battery, 80 watt fast charging, and that means 1 to 100% in 45 minutes. So it's incredibly quick charging. And in my experience, although I'm not using it in anger in terms of it being my constant phone that I'm using for calls and all the rest of it, I was using it for messaging people. I was using it for using Slack and that sort of stuff. It was getting some serious use. And traveling does hammer your battery anyway. It hammers the SIM card usage and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely a 2-day phone. This is going to go on today, no problem at all. It could even creep into a 3-day phone. That's definitely a possibility. Camera system. So we have on this we have 2 cameras, as you can see here. One of them is a 50 megapixel Sony LYT700, which that's the sensor that it uses. That's the main camera. It's an upgrade on the one that's in here from last year. It's basically got a lot of the same things as the OnePlus 13, which is a very, very good camera system. And by the way, I was very impressed with this last year as well. Great camera. But the fact that this is leaning so heavily on the technology from the OnePlus 13 is a very good thing, trust me. One of the big upgrade is the selfie camera, which was a 16 megapixel on the Nord 4. On the Nord 5, it's 50 megapixel. It's got an ultra wide, 8 megapixels, and it shoots up to 4K 60 frames per second. Very quickly on the video side of things, I decided to use this exclusively yesterday during this press trip that I went to in Amsterdam. This was at Sonos's offices in Europe, and it was all shot for, you know, Instagram and TikTok. Regardless of that, it did a very, very good job, and it still gives you a good idea in this video as to what this thing is like when you're shooting in 4K. This is 30 frames per second, I think, and it didn't let me down. Now, okay, it would be nice to go beyond 2x, which is let me just double check. That is the maximum so the maximum optical focal length is 2 times. Beyond that, you're into digital territory. Some of this footage was a little bit beyond 2x, which gets a bit grainy and what have you. But for the price, that is what you get. That's what you get below the flagship level. So video-wise, fantastic. When it comes to photos, I have the absolute best test for this usually, which is my son. Still have my son, obviously. He's still a test case for this. And the reason he's a test case is because he doesn't stop moving. He's 3 years old and he's just, well, if you've got kids, you'll know what I mean. So he's a very good test for taking photos with a smartphone. The other test that I have these days, and having got her very recently, is my puppy. So we've got a puppy called Nala. If you're wondering, she is a fox red lab. She's utterly gorgeous, as you can see. She's also an absolute nutcase because she's a puppy. She's 9 weeks old. So she's an even better test for cameras than Harrison is, to be honest. As you can see, quite a lot of misses with this, but to be honest, I would not expect any camera to consistently capture Nala in her current state, which is just bombing around everywhere until she falls asleep because she's so tired. But when it gets that frame, when it captures that moment, it is fantastic. This is a lovely camera system. Beyond Nala and Harrison, I've taken lots of photos while traveling. I will take some other photos after this what I'm doing here in the studio, I think, just to give you some examples of what it's like in low light and that sort of stuff. But camera system, yes, it would be lovely to go beyond 2 times for optical zoom, but you don't get that at this price range. And equally, I don't think you need it, really. I think most people who buy this phone aren't going to be thinking about that. And we have an ultra wide, which you don't get on the iPhone 16e. You know, if we compare this against the iPhone 16e, yes, it's a bigger phone, but it's the most obvious point of comparison in Apple land. This beats it camera-wise, big time. So camera, very happy with that. Software, okay. This isn't. I went then, but that wasn't because I don't like it or I don't like Oxygen OS, which is the operating system that runs on this. It's very good, actually. In terms of a version of Android which has been tweaked by the manufacturer, it hasn't been tweaked too much. There's not too much bloatware on there. To be honest, it does feel relatively iOS-like. I think it looks a little bit like iOS. I think it feels like it for some reason. That isn't a bad thing. I'm not suggesting that's what OnePlus have done with this, but it does feel a bit iOS-like, as do a lot of Android variants these days. So no problem with that whatsoever. The reason I kind of go is because there is AI built into this, and I'm a little bit bored of AI. We get Gemini integration, we get Circle to Search, we get all of the kind of image manipulation stuff, which I won't bother even showing you guys because you know what it's about. You know what all this stuff is about. It does have Plus Mind, which is this kind of space that you can put stuff into. You can basically save anything pretty much from the phone, screenshots, photos. It's very similar to Nothing's Essential Space. So it's this kind of idea of giving you an area on the phone where you can just chuck all the things that come into your head and that you want to keep a note of. I've not tried it yet. I'll do some footage for you on the on the overhead camera so you can see what it looks like. But the main reason for that is because I wouldn't tend to use that in real life, and I test these phones as I use my regular phone. I don't see the point really in going beyond and starting to test all the fancy stuff because I don't use it like that, and I think this channel attracts people who are the same as me in that respect. So if you're just looking for a phone that has a fantastic operating system and isn't iOS, but maybe you're coming from iOS, perhaps it's time to ditch the iPhone and come across to Android land, then the Nord 5 does a fantastic job at making that switch pretty straightforward. It's got stereo speakers, connectivity, Wi-Fi 6, obviously 5G, that's an obvious thing, isn't it? I don't think this matters at all, but this Nord 4, because of this metal back, they had to have a particular antenna design in here to make sure that the metal body didn't interfere with the mobile, with the cellular signal. That obviously isn't the case anymore. So I never had a problem with this. It worked absolutely fine. However, if you did have an issue with it, possibly, I don't know, then I would guess this won't have that same issue because it's a regular phone design. But I don't think that was a problem, but it is worth mentioning that. So yeah, this had a U-shaped antenna, whereas this has a redesigned regular, I guess, antenna layout. That is my overview of this phone, guys. There's no point in me going into tiny little details on it because I don't need to. Put it this way, if you want to buy a mid-range smartphone now, add this to your list, but also take a look at my other reviews of some of the other mid-range stuff that has come out in the last 6 months, because there's so much of it. There are so many phones. I do think we're reaching a point now where people are switching from other platforms. I think it's not a mass exodus, but I think people are starting to move away from the iPhone. I've seen it in the comments. I've seen what some of you are saying, and I think phones like this are attracting you to it. In conclusion, the Nord 5, I think I do miss that design. I think I do like that, but I think in terms of an upgrade, they've done the right stuff. This feels like a much more regular phone now, but a very premium feeling one for a price, which I'll check in a second. The camera is very, very good. The display is lovely. It's got the right chip in there, I think. Battery, it's still going. Obviously it's still going, but the fact it's still going from yesterday morning is ridiculous. Right, shall we see if we've got a price? This is a live I won't show you my inbox, obviously, but this is me checking my inbox to see if we have... My iPad mini is not working now. Amazing. Of all the times to stop working. Oh, there we go. Have we got anything? No, nothing in there at the moment. But we will have it by the time this video goes live. So we'll put the pricing down here and in the description somewhere. Guys, thank you for watching this video. I know it was slightly different. Part of the reason it's been different is because of time. I'm not suggesting other YouTubers who are doing these one takes have got the same challenge, but there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Make sure you hit subscribe not to miss that. Hit the bell, like, comment, get involved. Let me know if you want more videos of this style, or if you don't, that's absolutely fine. Just get involved. Let's all be nice and friendly in the comments. I love it when we have nice, friendly comment threads, because this is just tech. Let's talk about it. Let's get involved. Guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.